So let's clarify. This is not a review of the U2 Sphere concert in Las Vegas. Oh, except it was awesome, cool, best concert I've ever attended. I digress. This is also not a review of Cirque du Soleil Mirage, which was great, way less expensive than O, because we're kind of cheap and blowing the money on U2 the night before. To even things out, we did a few free things like the Las Vegas Pinball Museum, where you can play decades-old machines, if they work. Top tip, bring lots of quarters. This is also not a review of the free Shelby American Museum, which had many of my favorite cars, including a few GT40s and a whack of Mustangs. The original GT350 is my favorite, but will it fit in my carry-on? We were pleasantly surprised with some of the hikes in Red Rock Canyon, especially the one where we ended up viewing the Vegas Strip at the end. 5 stars for Joshua Tree National Park, with its out-of-this-world trees and rock formations. And if it hadn't been so cold and windy, I would have given it more stars. And I learned that cute and cuddly little cactus trees called cholla are neither cute or cuddly. What we have learned is that planning far ahead for a trip is the way to go. You get to build up your anticipation for the events and experiences that you've already so heavily researched and carefully planned, and there are relatively few surprises. Changing your plans from a 10-day road trip to Texas to a fly to Vegas then drive to Palm Springs trip within an afternoon is something you should actively avoid. But wait, this is supposed to be a car show about our rental car, an Acura ILX. Oh crap, forgot we also had numerous donuts. Never mind.
Hi, I'm Dad, and we're in Palm Springs, California, testing the Acura ILX 2022 model. Is it cool or is it crap? So this is the 2022 model of the Acura ILX. It's kind of frowned upon in luxury circles because it's based on the 9th generation Civic. And even though the Civic moved up to 10 and up to 11, the Acura ILX did not. And so 2022 is the last year of its kind. And so is it worth buying? There's a couple of really great things about it. First of all, the engine. It's a 2.4 liter VTEC engine used in the former Civic Si. And so it has a 201 horsepower and about 190 foot-pound of torque. It is connected to, though, a dual clutch transmission, which is unique. And so even though the Civics have gone to a CVT, which I don't really like that much, this has got the DCT, and it's been pretty reliable. The front of this car has some fantastic headlights, LEDs. Again, this came in the refresh. The car has been out since 2012. Lots of changes since then. And in fact, the earlier models had 3 engine choices, including a hybrid and a regular 2-liter. But the 2.4 only came with a standard transmission back then. So lots of things have changed. The front has a lot of neat features. Has this nice new grille, large Acura symbol here. And on the one, this is the premium model. On the 1A spec higher, it has LED fog lamps in here as well. So it has lots of cool things, including 17-inch alloy rims, again on the premium. And it has a lot of safety features as well. The basic body style has stayed the same except for the front bumper and clip and lights, and the back bumper, clip and lights. The metal has stayed the same throughout the 10 years of production. So the back of the car looks pretty nice. Again, with the refresh, has some nice lights in the back here. The license plate's been moved to the lower bumper. It has a kind of a chrome tipped exhaust. Not really chrome anymore. Some ribs underneath here professing sportiness. And again, some nice details in terms of the cut in the bumper here. One thing that drives me a little bit crazy about this car is that the wheels sit quite a bit, like almost 2 inches in from the fenders. It makes it look, I don't know, kind of wimpy, I think, when you're traveling down the road there. The trunk is, well, it's kind of small, 12.4 cubic feet, and in fact it has the little pull tabs right here where you can pull them to put the seats down, but it's not 60/40. It's really only a hole in the back of the trunk here, that you can get at, and it's okay, but again, not very large. So the interior of the 2022 ILX. Ooh, it's not so good. It's pretty plasticky. There are some soft parts to the dash. I do like that, but this middle console section is all very cheap plastics. Even the doors, it's a little bit soft on the doors. This is how it came out in 2012. And just with some size changes to the instrument panels, it's pretty much the same as it was back then. And so it's very, very odd. It's confusing to have two separate control panels here. The top one is non-touch. Doesn't matter what you do, you can't touch it there. Let me just turn down the fan here a little bit. But the bottom one here is touch sensitive. Some of the information for your climate control shows up on the middle screen. Sometimes it shows on the upper screens. And so it takes a little bit of getting used to. Not fantastic. At least the gauges are very easily read. Nice to see. There's lots of options in terms of control from the steering wheel as well, which I believe was pulled from an Accord. And so it's like they took a Civic and tried to make a sports car, luxury car out of it, and they kind of didn't succeed on any level. It's a nice car. I think it's going to be pretty reliable, but if you're looking for a luxury interior, this is not going to be your car at all. It is loaded up with all the safety features from Acura watch, so it does have, lane assist, it does have braking assist, it does have rear view monitoring, little lights in the mirrors, which if you get anything less than premium, doesn't come with that. It's like, I can't believe it. The cheapest cars I know basically have the little lights that go off in the mirror from the radars in the back. And this one does, thankfully, but the lower model doesn't have that. And so it also only has a 5-inch screen, where this has got an 8-inch screen. So it was quite confusing to navigate through a lot of the menus as we had this car for 10 days. And so I still don't have it all figured out. There's a couple of things that drive me nuts, especially if I've locked the car, which it automatically locked and I had to turn that off. And if you open the back door, it'll actually unlock the back door, but then the alarm goes off. It's like every time it's like, alarm. And so that I can't figure out how to turn off the alarm if I open the back door, because I get my camera equipment out of the back seat all the time. So it has a manual handbrake lever, which means it can donut. And we did do that in some rain, but there's also a fantastic donut place here. I said, we gotta have to do both. I know it's supposed to be one or the other, but I make the rules, I think. And so that's the way that goes. It has a pretty good glove box in terms of size for that. The vents are actually at a nice height. I do appreciate that, because that's nice. Sometimes they're in weird spots and you can't force them into the right configuration to get any cool air. Thankfully, I was able to turn off, which is this left-hand corner here, the lane assist. And it was so fussy. If you weren't dead center, it would be tugging at your wheel and moving it around, and it was just terrible. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the drive portion for that kind of thing. So the interior is a bit of a mess. It does have leather seats, real leather seats. The model below it has fake leather seats. And it's quite small. I'm 6 feet, and I've got maybe an inch before I hit the piece right here beside the sunroof, which does take away about an inch of headroom, but they all come with sunroofs, so you don't really have an option. Does have automatic dimming mirror. I do like that. I just think I sit too high in it, and I'm not that tall of a person. So if you're more than 6 feet, you better sit in it for a while and see how that works out. The back seat also isn't very roomy. There's maybe 8 inches of leg room when I'm sitting behind myself, and so that's not great either. But it's not terrible, but it certainly doesn't scream luxury, and it doesn't look sporty. And yeah, at least most of the buttons are touch buttons. And the one last thing I want to talk about is, even though it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on the premium model, not the one below it, you still have to access all of the features using this knob, which basically touches, turns, and tips and tilts. And you have to navigate around your apps on your phone. Go to Google Maps, whatever we're going to do with that. There's a smartphone setting here, but again, it's like they kept on adding things without really thinking about it. But again, it's a 10-year-old car that they just basically kept on selling. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So, does it donut? Yes, it does.
With the ILX completing a somewhat successful donut using its emergency brake, that should have been sufficient for this episode. No pastries required. However, a vibrantly painted pink truck crossed our paths with the magical words, "Pink Box Donuts." I couldn't wipe that memory from my mind. Google Maps was our friend and Bob's your uncle. We were in the donut store, staring, jaws dropped, at over 50 varieties of donuts, with no plan on how to decide. After letting a fair amount of customers cut in front of us, we finally decided on 3 tasty-looking pastries and rushed back to the hotel to sample our catch. First up, the PB&J. Combine a glazed shell filled with house-made raspberry jelly and topped with peanut butter vanilla cake crumbs, oh, and a drop of jelly on top, might be just the perfect donut to give to that friend who just can't stop talking. Some would say a small price to pay for silence. Sup Shorty was probably my favorite, with fresh strawberries and cream stuffed into a glazed shell. Felt like summer in Manitoba when you go and pick your own strawberries and eat your hearts out during those weeks they are in season. A dozen of these would have been a good start. And only because of the connection to our car show, I just had to buy the Pooh specialty donut. Well, it tasted a lot better than its namesake, so I'm told. Valentine poop. It's like our car show, cool car, crap car. It's chocolate cake with chocolate on it. I wouldn't have bought it, except that it's a poop. And if you love chocolate, this glazed chocolate cake, topped with chocolate buttercream and covered in chocolate icing, might be your undoing. In the end, I think the strawberry one was my favorite, but all 3 were incredible, and I might be a little in love. Google says it's only 2,700 kilometers to the nearest location, and that's starting to sound not very far.
We're driving in Joshua Tree National Park. Lots of curvy roads, ups and downs, crazy Joshua trees, nutso rock formations, and this car drives okay. It is quite stiffly sprung, so every bump you kind of feel it, and it doesn't translate really that good into handling. And the all-season tires certainly don't help in that respect either. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a sports sedan or a luxury sedan, because it really isn't either. It has decent pickup. The engine sounds pretty nice. And it is a very good engine. It's a 2.4 liter K24 engine. It's been around for a long time, not particularly great on gas, but I think it'll be super reliable. And that's what we really treasure on Cool Car Crap Car. It has a DCT transmission, which kicks down nicely, shifts fast, has been mostly reliable, few complaints if it's cold. And it's been quite warm where we've been, so this has been pretty good. I haven't had it do anything strange in terms of kick down or gearing down when I'm braking. Pretty good. Steering feel, it's okay. And if you're looking for a reliable car, this might be the one to get. It has a nice Acura badge, but it doesn't seem to translate into good handling, unfortunately. The seat position is pretty good for driving. I am a little high in it though, and I can barely make it in terms of the headroom because it has a sunroof, and I'm 6 feet tall. So your mileage may vary depending how long your torso is. So another thing that we need to talk about in terms of driving the car is that the brakes. Again, I've only driven one of these, but they seem super touchy at the beginning. And so really want to grab quickly, but then modulate very, very nicely. So once that first grab is, you just have to be very careful on that first hit of the brake. And then after that, feels very, very good and stops pretty well. Though I haven't had to do any emergency braking so far. Hopefully that's the way the rest of the trip goes. But we've had it on the highway. It drives pretty well on the highway, steers nice and true, and it is a little loud. It feels a little bit like an economy car, though it is based, as I've probably mentioned before, on the 9th generation Civic, which is already from 2012. So this is a pretty old chassis, old car. They did upgrade the engine and some of the subsequent pieces. This engine is a 2.4 with 200 horsepower, so it has a decent amount of get up and go, though not as much as the 1.5 turbo in the newer Civics. But the Civics have a CVT, and I'm not a big fan of the CVT, though it gets 5 miles per gallon US better in the city and on the highway. So it drives okay, and I wouldn't take it on a Sunday drive onto some fast roads for fun, but it would be okay to drive for groceries nicely, I guess, and people could admire your Acura badge. It's loaded with, well, I guess it's Honda Sense, but it's Acura something or other, and it has all the lane assist and warnings. It does tell you to brake when you're approaching something too quickly, though it doesn't brake for you. One of the things that has driven me nuts is the very sensitive lane assist software. When I had it on, anywhere outside the middle of the lane, it wanted to tug that steering wheel back and forth, and I hated that. And to find out where to find that in the menu system, which I've talked about in the interior, is a little bit convoluted. It's an old system, and it's spread between 2 screens. And also, it put on a weird steering feel, like it changed the steering feel even if you were driving normally. And so it lost some of its feel. Either it needs to be fixed, or if this is the way it is on every one of these things, just turn it off, because that was super frustrating. Dad joke, before I forget. Every morning I get up, I walk out my front door of this apartment, and a bike comes out of nowhere and runs me over. It's a vicious cycle. This cactus looks nice and fuzzy and warm and cuddly, but it's not. It's death. Death, I tell you. Those little guys right there, unbelievable. I just slightly brushed against one, the bottom of my leg yesterday, and it literally stapled itself through my pants into my leg in over 15 spots. I have no idea how they're that sharp. I have no idea. There's not even warning signs around here. Like, these should be like huge warning signs. Death. Death to you that walk close to cactuses. Anyhow, heads up, whatever this cactus is called, it's a nature stapler superhero. Okay, so how does the 2022 ILX rate? Reliability. This is its strong suit. Not a lot of recalls, only the very beginning, first couple of years. And so this engine has been tried and true. The DCT has been pretty good. There's only one caveat. There are some complaints that it may not shift or like to shift quickly or get stalled up in maybe a gear when it's cold. So for Winnipeg climate, that could be an issue if you didn't warm it up. So for reliability, everything else works. It's still a Honda and it's very reliable, and this powertrain is its strongest suit, and that's probably the one reason why I would buy this car, is because of the powertrain. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5, only because the DCT may be a little bit fussy, not too happy in cold weather. Practicality kind of sucks. Practicality, it's small in here. I barely fit in the front seat. The pass-through is very small in the trunk, doesn't go 40-60. You can't get a lot of big things in here. The trunk is small too. Maybe 2 golf bags, maybe. The back seat is small. So practicality, 2 ice cream trucks. Being pretty generous, I think. You can still fit people in here, just not a lot of big people, or tall people, or wide people. Stick to small people and you're okay. Fuel economy. It's rated at 24 and 35 US miles per gallon, which is 9.8 and 6.9 liters per 100. And that's kind of what we were getting. The city was showing a lot of 24, 25, and we were kind of bumping 35, 36 on the highway, so it's pretty accurate that way. So it's good. It's not great.
I'll give it 3 ice cream trucks.
Safety. This model is the premium model. It has all the Acura watch safety stuff. That includes rear traffic alerts, which the lower models don't. Side car alerts, which the lower models don't. But the lower models have at least the rest of the stuff. The braking assist, the lane assist. The problem is the lane assist was awful. I was almost going to return this car if I couldn't figure out how to disable it, because it's in the cruise control system, and it's also in the regular system. And so you can have it on for both, or have it on for one, or have it on for none. And once I turned it off completely, I could drive this car. And so I hated it. I hated it, and disliked it a lot. So for safety, I'm giving it 4 because it's safe, but I don't really like it unless you turn off the lane assist systems. Performance. 6.4 seconds to 60 doesn't sound too bad. The problem is this is a VTEC engine, and most of the power comes up in the upper revs. So if you really hammer it, it'll go fast. It'll shift fast because it's DCT, and so it's pretty good, but just minor throttle or half throttle, it seems a little sluggish, though the transmission still does, it shifts pretty fast most of the time. So performance 2. It's supposed to be an Acura. Acura's supposed to be kind of a performance luxury division, and this doesn't really come through too well for Acura, in my opinion. Technology. It's like 2012. They didn't really change much. They had the Acura watch, but really it has a CD player. Woo! It has 1 USB port. Woo! Sheesh. It has memory for the seats. That's pretty good, I guess. But it's old. Everything's old. The screen isn't even touch screen. It's all with a dial by turning and clicking and spinning. And so I was confused a lot of the time where the information even was supposed to be seen. It was a little convoluted, and it's not great. So 2 ice cream trucks. Technology. Quality. Mediocre. Lots of plastics. Doesn't feel special at all inside here. I know the higher models of the Acura lineup are quite a bit nicer than this. The TLX is definitely nicer than this. But it feels like you're kind of in an old car. If you don't mind that, then maybe this car is for you. So in terms of quality, it wasn't great, and it was quite loud. I could hear a lot of the road noise. Didn't seem really any more quiet than my Hyundai accent, and that's saying something not so great. 2 ice cream trucks. Aesthetics. Okay, by keeping the metal parts the same, they did an admirable job of changing the front end and the back end to actually look pretty good. The LED lights look quite nice. They work really, really well. And even the backlights have a little slim little LED piece that goes through them, and that looks sweet as well. The side's a little boring. The rims are a little boring. The tires are inside the wheel well too much. I don't like that very much. It doesn't look hunkered down. Looks a little wimpy. So I'm giving it 2 ice cream trucks. Might be a little generous there. Value. From what I've read, people are picking these up for a pretty good price. And if you can find one for a good price and you're okay with kind of a crap interior and okay looking outside, but a really good engine transmission combo, this has got some really good value. I give it a 4 if you can get a good deal on it, because I think the powertrain is actually really nice and it's going to last a long time. And that's the part that I think is the strongest and the best part about this car.
So how does the Acura ILX compare to some of its rivals? The Acura is the least expensive car here, by far, and has a history of great reliability. However, it does have a small, cheap interior, confusing tech, and is basically a grandfather of a car. The Audi A3 is more expensive, but has a much better interior, optional all-wheel drive, and very good handling. Its drawbacks are a small trunk, average reliability, and much higher depreciation. Up next is the Lexus IS. It is a powerful, classy-looking vehicle, both inside and out. Rear-wheel drive is standard, but can be ordered with all-wheel drive. It also has a tiny trunk and small interior, and its price is significantly higher than the ILX. Lastly, the Mercedes CLA. It is very stylish, has good handling, optional all-wheel drive, and a luxurious interior. These cars, however, are pricey and have super tiny trunks, average reliability, and depreciate quite quickly.
Okay, final conclusion of the 2022 Acura ILX. I didn't love it. It was okay. Would I buy it? Price was right, I think I might. Because not a lot of people know about this, and it's kind of a hidden gem in terms of the powertrain. The rest of it, take it or leave it. It's really not great. So if you think you're buying a Civic with a better powertrain, I think you'll like this car. It doesn't handle great either. Again, it feels very middle-ish on so many levels. So I'm still gonna give it 3 ice cream trucks. 3 ice cream trucks. I think I can live with that. And by the way, yes, it's windy here. Super, super windy.